Tony Robbins talks about 6 different human needs. One of them is to contribute to others. If contribution is right at the top of your particular tree to serve others, it's really, really important to remember that you are also others. So we put ourselves in this bucket where it's, I'm going to serve person A, B, C, D, all the way up to Z or Z, right? We're going to serve all these people, but then we forget our own self-care. We forget our own mission. We forget to fill our cup. Filling our own cup isn't an act of, I guess, greed. It's an act of being able to serve even more. And again, it's so important for so many reasons, to fill your own cup because some people learn from you by watching what you do. Some people learn by what you say, but then if what you say and what you do doesn't match, I get it. You can always follow the mouthpiece. I get it. But people watch what you do as well.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Flow Over Fear podcast, where it is our mission to help you to rise above fear and realize your ultimate potential in leadership and life. I'm your host, Adam Hill, and it is my goal to share with you the human side of high performance. My guests share their experience with fear, anxiety, struggle, challenge, and most importantly, despite all of it, how they rose above it to achieve incredible results. So, if you're ready to rise up, let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Flow Over Fear. Thank you so much for being here today. We have an incredible treat for you. If you are in the world of personal development or interested in developing yourself personally, I have a great guest today. His name is Mo Salami, and he is an online marketing expert, an international keynote speaker, and certified life coach. And he fluently speaks many languages, including English, French, Spanish, and Brazilian Portuguese. But today, I think we're going to stick with English because, unfortunately, that's the only one that I'm fluent in. But Mo used to be a senior mentor for the world-class peak performance guru. I don't know if you know this guy, Tony Robbins. Mo was part of his California-based team, and he generated tens of millions of dollars in sales for Tony's events worldwide. That's incredible. And Mo has done over 20,000 hours of one-on-one consulting, which has included over 8,000 business owners doing $1 million in revenue or more, which has created massive value for both business and personal levels for many, many people. And as an online marketing expert, Mo helps experts grow or scale their online businesses while creating their ideal lifestyle. His unique background with personal development at the very highest level means that he also helps you get breakthroughs during his results-driven coaching sessions. Thank you so much for being here, Mo. I'm really, really excited to talk to you today.
Adam, I'm so blessed to be on your podcast today. Thanks for the invitation, and let's do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I love hearing. I mean, you've got an impressive background as far as what you've, not just the people that you've worked with, but the results that you've generated. And I know that doesn't come just from, random chance or anything like that. And I love to hear people's origin stories, where they came from, how they got to where they're at. Could you give us a glimpse into Mo? Where did you come from, and what's your origin story?
Adam, it started with a sign. As these things do, it started with a sign. But before I get to the sign, I'll just back up a little bit and just give a little bit of context. So I'm from a family where the holy grail of success is education, and specifically getting a science-based degree or perhaps an accounting degree, or one of those two is the pinnacle of success in my family. So I did that. Mm-hmm. I got the science degree. I got my first degree age 20. In fact, I have 3 separate degrees. So I'm like a super success, right?
Right.
So that was the pinnacle. So did all that stuff nice and early. And what that came with was, went to live in a really nice neighborhood, great neighbors. Everyone's doing something great. Maybe they're a surgeon, or they're working in finance. They're an investment banker. They have, a really great, all of my neighbors were successful as well. Right. And what I found, Adam, was that the six-figure income also came with 16-hour shifts. So working 16 hours. So my weekdays and my weekends and the holidays and the bank holidays were work days. And so I would get to the end of the year. Again, remember, I'm very, very, very successful, right? Each one of those varies for the degrees, the college degrees. And I'd get to the end of the year, but I was so unsure because I was really successful, but I don't know if I felt successful. And my year was always this blur of just shifts, and I had like no free time, wasn't really enjoying myself, as it were. And which brings me nicely to this sign. So I'm in a bookstore, as you are. And specifically, it was a bookstore in London, England. You probably, won't be surprised by that from my accent, hopefully. And I saw this sign and it said, "How to be successful." And I'd grown up in a world of chemistry, biology, physics, mathematics, and I was already successful, right? So I went to this sign, and it turns out it was an ad for a book by Jack Canfield. And that book was called The Success Principles. And that moment was my very, very first introduction to personal development. I hadn't heard of it as such because I'd just been in the science world. And I read the book, and I remember right there and then in the store, I grabbed the book, read the first chapter, and the first chapter was about taking responsibility. So ultimately, Adam, you, we're responsible for everything that comes in our direction, right? We're responsible for our life. So I'm reading all this brand new information, read the book, and like a great student, I went to the back of the book and I ordered every single book in the back of The Success Principles by Jack Canfield. And that's how I found Tony Robbins. That's how I discovered T. Harv Eker, another one of my mentors. And ultimately, that led me to discovering online marketing. So fast forward a little bit, and I'm in an online marketing seminar. And I looked around because my presupposition is, oh, awesome. Every one of us will be really successful. We'll just take this info, implement it. We're good to go, because that's what I always had done, right? With, my academia. Mm-hmm. And I asked myself the question, I wonder what it would be like if I were the best in the world at online marketing. And more to the point, what if I were the best in the world at personal development? And again, this isn't about being better than someone else. This is about being the very best I can be. So over a period of a decade, I literally hesitated a bit because it's a huge sum, but probably $500,000 worth of courses, events, trainers, mentors. My question was always, who's the best? And I would go to whoever they were. So I learned digital marketing, online marketing. I can build websites. I can code, all aspects of personal development. And then I traveled everywhere, literally all around the world, to whoever was the best. I needed to be there because of my objective. So as does happen with these signs, you quickly come to a fork in the road. And I had this fork in the road. Like, do I continue along this really great journey, serving all these businesses, building websites, coding apps for all these businesses? Or do I go work for Tony Robbins? And, obviously over there, I had the opportunity to really serve and help a really great mission. And also I had the opportunity for high ticket consultative selling over there as well as part of the role. And I'd learned sales, I'd learned sales from Jay Abraham. I'd learned sales from Chet Holmes, love Jay, love Chet. And I'd done a ton of, sales training. And I went down the road of working for Tony, and over there, it's, awesome. I got to really watch and have an impact, have my piece of impact, helping lots and lots, and I could say lots for a while, right, of people really pushing forward, really taking that next step. And what I realized was that looking back over my short career at that time, what I realized, and I got the epiphany, was that sometimes we think we're successful, but what's really happening is stressful. So then, all of the while working for Tony and, and the team and some amazing friends I have over there till this day, and some amazing, clients as well. All the while, I still would keep in touch, with my online marketing roots, building super complicated websites in a day or half a day, or doing all these other things as well. And, then eventually I said to myself, I really, what if I could use all these probably 1,000 plus books I've read at this point, all these courses and trainings and masterminds and mentorships and all these amazing things I've learned here at Team Tony as well. And what if I could take all those and help people find their fulfillment via the personal development and find their way as well with the online marketing, like give them different options. So that's how I got here from that sign.
I love that. And that's just from one sign. I love that aspect of it, because we walk by hundreds of signs a day. I mean, if not thousands. I mean, there are things that could be screaming at us, like what we should be doing or what our brains are telling us. So I have a lot of questions about all of that, because there's a lot of turns that you took that other people might not have taken. But as far as that sign is concerned, do you think that is that the universe speaking to us? Is it just your brain looking for the signals? What do you think that is that triggers us to see those kinds of signs?
Wonder if it was a combination of the two, because every time we'd have that countdown, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, New Year's. Mm-hmm. I would always not know. I would know what I achieved the previous year because I, was helping people ultimately. But outside of that, it was just a blur of just shifts. And I was always unsure that, was this really success? It was, that's all I knew. Yeah. And then in terms of the sign, perhaps at some level, I was looking for that, because when I saw the sign, everything else went black and white. Everything else in the bookstore went black and white. And that sign was in Technicolor. I don't even remember the color of the sign, but I just remember those words, how to be successful. And I just remember thinking, what could that honestly, I just remember thinking, what could that possibly be teaching me? What is it about how to be successful? And then when I went across, I saw the book, a huge stack of The Success Principles by Jack Canfield. I still have my original copy. Funny side note, I have a bunch of copies now because I have them in different languages as well. But like, when I saw that sign, I sort of stepped into this world that I wasn't aware of. And that's where I guess the hunger came from. I sat right there, and I think I was 40% into the book or something when I actually got up and actually bought it. But I sat right there in the bookstore and was reading the chapters. Then I bought the book, and then I just went to the back because I didn't know this world. And I was curious to know that particular world. So that's, so I think perhaps on some level, perhaps I was looking for the sign.
Wow. Yeah. I love that. And there's an aspect of that too, with regard to, maybe getting into the marketing discussion, which I want to dig more into that story too. But that this idea of that marketing piece that attracted you, it was more of an attraction rather than a promotion. And I've heard that a lot, like, in the rooms of recovery from my background, was like, well, we want to be attractive rather than promoting what we represent. And in that marketing piece from, what Jack Canfield had put forth on that sign, it drew you into an entirely new direction. I mean, that's the power of marketing. I mean, is it not? I mean, does that kind of resonate with what, or is that why you wanted to jump into that field later on, maybe?
I think you're right, Adam, on so many points here. It definitely was an attraction versus a promotion. And I wonder if it was an identity piece as well, because if you see yourself as successful, and then there's a sign literally that says how to be successful, and you wonder to yourself, am I on the right track here?
Yeah.
Especially if there was something telling you that perhaps there's another way, perhaps there's another route. See, I said route instead of route, so there you go.
Oh, well, is route the proper way, or is that the not proper way? I'm not sure.
I think we good both ways. Route,
Okay, good.
route, tomato, we good. It's awesome.
Good. That's good. Yeah, because I'm never sure. I'm definitely not a go-to with regard to language. But when a lot of people see those signs, and maybe maybe this is just my perspective on it, but a lot of people might just pass by those signs and say, have that brief moment of what if, like, wow, what if I were successful? And then they would kind of get overshot by their negative beliefs of saying, no, but yeah, that's not you. Why don't you go back to your job? And they'll listen to that other voice, and they'll just pass by, and they'll go and they'll continue to dream and not pursue. But, it sounds like that might be part of your DNA. And I don't want to make assumptions or anything, but, getting the degrees, always, pursuing that. Is that a DNA piece, or is it something that we just have to be more intentional about those callings and pursue them, more intentionally?
I think for myself personally, my desire was always to serve other people. It just always was. So it was a calling. The how to be successful was perhaps partly for myself, but more so how to be successful so I can discover this, so help even more people. And you better believe it would have been easier not to see the sign that day, right? Because again, I'm like probably 1,000 books in, tons of seminars and networks and masterminds is the word I'm looking for. Yeah. And I'm talking highest level always. Even I know you just did a public speaking training course as well, Adam, and congratulations.
Thank you.
And when I did my first one as well, I just thought and sought who is the best, and that's how I wound up in Barcelona. That's how I wound up in Malaysia. And, just learning from whoever's the best. And the desire is not so much for myself. It's so that I can help the person that I'm serving. Jay Abraham talks about the strategy of preeminence.
Mm-hmm.
And the strategy of preeminence says we don't have customers, we have clients, and having a customer is a transaction. Here's how much it is. And by the way, which card do you have? And let's get it done and sent to you. Having a client says, how can I serve you at the highest level? Even if it means referring you, even if it means not giving you our highest ticket, right? Let's give you what you need, and let's serve you not just for this moment. Let's serve you in a way that changes your life. Because guess what? If I can be a tiny piece of changing your life, you're changing minimum 8 people's lives. Your family at home, your kids if you have kids. Every day when you go to, metaphorically buy that newspaper, that person that is so inspired by you, but you just don't even know it, So I think it was more speaking to this, like doing the best I can to be the best me so I can help you in a plural sense, be the best you. And on some level, that's always been, I guess, a life mission, irrespective of, and again, I'm a big fan of education, but irrespective of training courses and degrees and all that great stuff, I've always had the desire to help, for sure.
Yeah. So that's an incredible mission. And I know that a lot of, thinking in my previous life where I was experiencing a lot of fear in my life, and I don't know if this is true to you too, but where there was a lot of fear in my life, it would be when I was internally focused and I would not be serving because I would be too afraid that I would not have, I just wouldn't be enough to do that. But it was always this internal feeling. But externally focused on serving, is that an act of courage? Do you feel that's a more courageous way to live?
I have a quick question. So just clarify your internal feeling, and then I'll answer your question in a sec about the courage for the external feeling. What was your feeling you had for it internally?
So internally, the fear was really, it was manifesting as this fear that, well, if I'm focused on these things that are maybe serving others, I'll be sacrificing something else that may be dangerous to me, like my long-term welfare, my long-term well-being. For example, like if I thought that there was a good way to serve, that I knew that my talents were beneficial elsewhere, but I might be, not showing up in the day-to-day job that I had, for instance, that was providing my income. That's kind of where my internal feelings were at that time.
I think the fact that you had those feelings says a lot about you, because and I'm speaking based off of, tens of thousands of consultations about this very subject. Yeah. And when you are so externally focused on serving others, that can happen where you're so focused on helping Joe Public or Jane Public or the next person that you forget that charity begins at home. You forget yourself and you forget the ones that you love who are at home. Mm-hmm. And one thing I always say is that when you're serving others, if that's your mission, Tony Robbins talks about 6 different human needs. One of them is to contribute to others. If contribution is right at the top of your particular tree to serve others, it's really, really important to remember that you are also others. Mm. So we put ourselves in this bucket where it's, I'm going to serve person A, B, C, D, all the way up to Z or Z, right? We're going to serve all these people, but then we forget our own self-care. We forget our own mission. We forget to fill our cup. Filling our own cup isn't an act of, I guess, greed. It's an act of being able to serve even more. And again, it's so important for so many reasons, to fill your own cup, because some people learn from you by watching what you do. Some people learn by what you say, but then if what you say and what you do doesn't match, I get it. You can always follow the mouthpiece. I get it. But people watch what you do as well. So the fact that you even have those internal feelings like that says so much about you that, to me, it sounds like your mission really is pure to serve other people. But again, it's so important to remember in that, when serving others, that you are also others. The people that you have at home, they are also others as well. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, that's very helpful. And I know a lot of times we forget that, as far as taking care of ourselves, putting our own oxygen mask on to steal something that's fairly cliche. But how do we find that balance? I mean, that's a big question, but is it a balance, or is there some formula for us on how we can take care of ourselves and be in the best service of others?
How do we find that balance? So I'll just answer your previous question about courage as well. If the external is courageous, the external, I think there are many different answers to whether it is an act of courage. And I think it is an act of courage, because most people, or pretty much everyone, has that feeling and thought of, I'm not enough. Yeah. I'm not good enough. Imposter syndrome are the branches that extend from that initial, I'm not enough, platform. So for sure, stepping out there, putting yourself out there in service of others is definitely an act of courage. And I wonder, I don't want to sound, corny or whatever, but I wonder if it's also an act of love as well. Mm-hmm. Literally, gifting to that other person the gifts that you have to gift to the world. So I wonder if it's an act of love as well. But certainly, for the fact that we, pretty much everyone, no matter how amazing they are, and we all are amazing, right, has that imposter syndrome feeling, I'm not enough feeling. So to step beyond that, to step beyond the fear, to step into the flow, says a lot about yourself if you're stepping into that courage, for sure.
Yeah, that's very beautifully said, and so helpful that love and courage almost go hand in hand a lot of times, and I love that the aspect of serving is love. We've heard that through the generations, and sometimes it's hard to remember that when when we're in the midst of fear, I suppose, and one of the things you'd said kind of goes along with one of the things I think you say a lot, which is, doing the best you can consistently. And so what can you kind of expand on that? What does that mean to you? And how can our audiences, or how can the audience really use that to their advantage to help them to make progress?
Absolutely. So just quickly, I totally forgot your last question after the courage one. What was that? And then I'll jump into do the best you can consistently.
Oh yeah, no, I was just more curious about how to find that balance between, between certain, because if we have to take care of ourselves and in order to take care of others, what is the balance there? Like and that may be a bigger question that is just, finding that balance individually, but I'm just curious to know your thoughts on that.
I think it's a huge question. And I think that most people think even the idea of a balance is preposterous, right? You can't find it. But let's be idealistic for a second. So I think the way to find the balance is to almost split your existence, your day-to-day, into different parts. The part where you're focused on yourself, your own self-care, going to the gym, as it were, your nutrition, like you have a focus on yourself, even if it's a fraction of the day. A part of the time where your focus is on, the work that you do and the mission that you have, perhaps, the business that you have, perhaps. And then another part of the day where, again, you're focused internally at home, where you're focused on your loved ones and those who love you back. And you're focused on home. So it's having that balance of those three. And then that becomes difficult, right? Imagine, for example, if you're working in sales and you have this amazing, potential double, treble sales day, or you can spend some time, with your loved ones. I wonder, which one is the most valuable, long term, so I think, it's just that. And then an extension to that quite huge question is having a really great day. So I have an amazing coach, and I'll send this episode to my coach as well to listen to. And now, having a great life, I believe, and again, I get it, this is very simplistic and idealistic. Having a great life can come from having a great year, right? And then if we divide that by 365, and for my overachievers out there, 366 on certain days, certain years, if we divide that, that means having a great day. And then having a great day, you can start that with a platform of having a great morning, and and then that comes into play our morning routines. And then the objective of the morning routine, one of the objectives of the morning routine, is that when you wake up, and again, this is from my coach, when you wake up, two people wake up. You wake up and your mind wakes up. And then who's going to win the day? It's such a beautiful battle. So if you're in that moment where you have to perform, so to speak, and you're worried, you're in your fear, you're like 95% fear, you can see the flow, it's just a beautiful dance between you and your mind, right? Or if you're in those moments when you feel strong, you're good, you got this, that's you overtaking your mind. And then guess what? By the end of that day, your mind will win, or you will win. And guess what? Whoever wins the day, you can start again the next day. Do your morning routine again, see who wins, boom. And then it's one of those where you can just live this beautiful existence where you've set your intention, you've done your part, you've done your morning routine, right? And then let's see what beauty the day brings. And if there are days when the mindset or the mind wins, perhaps that's a sign to work on the mindset, get a coach, grab a training. But again, I repeat and reiterate, if your mindset were to win the day, guess what? We go again tomorrow. And then guess what? We go again the next day. And then ultimately it's about just really stacking you winning the day, day by day. And again, I think that starts really well with the morning routine and with the do the best you can consistently. This speaks to expertise.
Mm-hmm.
I say the royal we. I teach having the life and the lifestyle, the exact life and the lifestyle that you want, exactly how you've written it and how you want it. And part of that, you're received by the world, whether we like it or not, by the value that we put out in the world. It has such a huge impact on how we're received. And I think there's a difference between putting out value as the expert or putting out value as someone that just kind of shows up and we're good. Mm-hmm. And I don't really prescribe to this, go learn this in 10 days and you're set, or, how to achieve this in 5 days and you're set. It's great, I guess, for a momentum piece, but I think there are building blocks that get you to expertise. I literally teach that. I teach online business how to be impactful with that. And I teach personal development. I have 6 different pillars that gravitate you towards high performance, personal development, and expertise. And they do the best you can consistently says, maybe today you're hitting home runs. And this is, I'm using baseball analogies. I've never seen a baseball game ever, right?
Oh, really? We got to change that for sure. We have
to change that. When I'm over your way, we have to change that.
We'll go see the Rockies play.
You can have a day where you're hitting home runs or scoring the winning penalty, so to speak. Mm-hmm. You can have days where you don't feel up to it as such. But the key is just having that consistency, because it speaks to the results that you're able to get eventually if you can be, consistent and persistent with that consistency. So you bit by bit gravitating towards you're doing the best you can consistently, getting the best results that you can, and ultimately being the best version that you can be. And that's stacked from how you show up every single time. I would say.
Oh, I'm so glad that you brought us back to that question that I almost forgot to go back to, because what you just described there was so helpful in terms of how we approach our mindset. I mean, and I am a big proponent. I mean, I almost nodded so much that my head fell off, but that I'm such a big proponent of the morning routine, the morning method, as I call it. And just I'm packing so much into that morning to make sure that you are taking ownership of your day, because that's the best part of your day, to actually to take charge of it. That like tying that into the fact that how we take care of ourselves before we can take care of others is, I think that should be a light bulb moment for anybody listening to this. If you want to serve others and serve yourself, take care of your morning first. Take ownership of that morning first. Don't just jump out of bed, run downstairs, grab a granola bar and hit the door. Take care of yourself. Get that piece in for you. And yeah, that's such a power. And I'd love to dig in a little bit more to, you mentioned you have these 6 pillars. Do you mind sharing a little bit about those?
Sure, absolutely. So the first pillar is preparation. Mm-hmm. And again, the biggest outcome is becoming the best version of yourself, becoming that expert, because it's there's a different type of value that you bring to the world if you show up as the expert versus if you just show up. And one of those 6 pillars speaks to preparation. The more you prepare, the less you despair, I like to say. And the less you prepare, the more you despair. So preparation is huge, because it means you're not starting at the beginning. Let's imagine you couldn't prepare for that day, but preparation is part of your routine, as it were. Even though you couldn't prepare today, your memory remembers the preparation from yesterday or the other day or yesteryear, and that all stacks up. And another one is showing up. In life and in languages, if you don't truant, you will become fluent, So just like showing up every single time, every single day, also speaks volumes as well, because a lot of the reasons people don't, ultimately achieve their goals or make it to the top of, Maslow's, one of the reasons make it to the top of Maslow's hierarchy of needs is fear. Like really giving into fear. This, um, 92%, studies show of things that we fear never come true. However, a huge majority of what stops us, remember, it's a game, it's a dance, whichever dance. It can be a salsa, it can be a line dance, whatever a line dance is, right? I don't even know what that is. But like, whichever type of dance it is, remember that mindset versus yourself, that fear, it speaks to being able to live in uncomfort. Once you can embrace the fear, as Susan Jeffers says, feel the fear and do it anyway, all of a sudden the fear becomes smaller, and as you would say, the flow becomes larger. Mm-hmm. You're able to really like live every part of you on a cellular level, even, because you're really living in flow, as opposed to in fear. So that's what it just speaks to, just like really overcoming fear using competency. And then that competency leads to your confidence. And then that confidence leads to just regular flow, and flow becomes your brand new normal. And then when you have the next day, your mindset has no chance for that day to win that day. When you wake up, your feet hit the ground, your mindset's like, oh my gosh, I don't have any tools anymore. They're not fearful anymore. They're in flow. And then that's it, I think. Yeah. So in terms of the pillars that I teach, there are 6 pillars. And like I said, it's just all about that, embracing the uncomfort. Most people, they stay comfortable living this life that they loathe. And very few people get uncomfortable to create the life that they love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I feel like that short-term avoidance of discomfort leads to long-term discomfort and long-term pain. So I mean, I can't speak enough to that fear that people are feeling. And I love this message because that fear that people feel is a signal more than anything else. And when we can look at it as just like feelings are okay, it's okay to feel that discomfort, but just pursue it anyway. That's where we grow. And over time, that's what leads to that competence. So I like that. So that's your showing up section of showing up, living, kind of embracing the discomfort a bit, and then, continuing to grow.
Absolutely. Just embracing that discomfort, whatever that day brings, like really embracing it, showing up and showing up and showing up and showing up. A lot of people, I almost didn't, I want to say it doesn't sound very humble, but a lot of people say to me, wow, it's so amazing. It's a miracle that you speak 4 languages fluently. I speak English, French, Spanish, Portuguese fluently. And the truth is, it's not amazing for a few reasons. One is that I actually speak more than 4 languages. That's the first thing. But the second reason it's not that amazing is because the capacity of a human being is unlimited. It's just truly unlimited. Studies have shown that, a human being, and again, one person's language is another person's different mission, right? But the capacity of a human being, it's possible to learn 50 languages fluently, and again, for myself, it's, languages that spur me on, as it were. For someone else, it could be something else, their mission that they have, or, that step that they're trying to take. And the bigger picture is that these things aren't miracles. They're just about stepping into the fear and or stepping into the flow and or showing up, like really showing up. Again, I'll repeat, in life and in languages, if you don't truant, you will become fluent. And it's, again, just really about, I think, stepping into the fear. And then here's the thing. What does fear mean, really? What is the meaning that we give fear? I wonder if we didn't have fear, I wonder if life would be very, very boring.
Oh, yeah.
If you do have fear, what does it mean, really? Does it mean that you're alive? Does it mean that something amazing is about to happen? Does it mean that you're about to grow as a person? Does it mean that the fear that you have today, when you look back, will be so tiny tomorrow? Does it mean that you're stepping into flow? And does it mean that once you step into flow, that you'll flow and you'll flow and you'll flow and there's no turning back? Does it mean you get to really like live the greatest version of you, so that when you look back, you can look back and say to yourself, to your loved ones, to those who love you back, you can say to each other, we did it. All because you left behind fear and you took that decision that flow is the way.
Yeah.
So again, like, perhaps I wonder the meaning you give to fear, and if it can be redefined into something else, that every time fear comes up, every time that knot comes up in the stomach, every time that feeling of not being enough or that imposter syndrome comes up, something exciting is about to happen, because you're in fear and you're about to enter through the portal to the good side, right? To the flow. I wonder if that could serve you better than being fearful of fear.
Yeah, it's so beautifully said. And I would invite the people listening to really consider that in their own lives, because as you're saying that, I'm thinking about my own life and my own experiences with fear, and where I've experienced fear and gone through it anyway, and just done the thing anyway, the thing that was scaring me, had the crucial conversation, or did the thing that was a little uncomfortable. On every experience that I could think through right now, I'm more fulfilled, happier, more joyous. And everything that is making me, feel that discomfort now is everything in the future that I just don't want to do, but I know I need to. And if we could listen to that voice a little bit and just kind of look at more as a signal, that would be more powerful.
Absolutely. There's a whole study by Earl Nightingale where they took 25-year-olds. I wonder if you're probably aware of this, the strangest secret. They took 25-year-olds and studied them for 40 years. So I don't know the number, for argument's sake, let's say 100. So it's a nice round number. So they studied these 25-year-olds till they were 65. And 4% of them, so by 25, they're full of, energy, desire, ambition, and, we're definitely going to have this amazing life because, in inverted commas, I deserve this. Nobody deserves this, by the way. By the age of 65, 4% of them had achieved the life that they wanted. If you're talking about a different study, 80-year-olds, they surveyed and studied 80-year-olds. What percentage, Adam, of 80-year-olds you typically lived the life that they wanted to live without this huge litany of regrets versus the life that they wanted? What percentage would you say have lived the life that they wanted to by the time they're 80?
Wow. Based on what I've seen, I certainly could only guess at the exact percentage, but I know that it's well over 50%. It has to be.
Right. That have lived or haven't lived the life they want.
That have not lived the life that they had wanted. So yeah, I think the number of people that have is very low.
The number of people that have, you're absolutely right. The number of people that have is incredibly low. Adam, 2% of people.
2%. Wow.
So the study from 25 to 65, 4% had achieved it. 2% of people achieve the life they want to live, the life they want to lead by the time they're 80 years old, which is why things like the sign that I alluded to, how to be successful, things like working on your mindset, things like listening to this podcast, Flow Over Fear, is so important, because a lot of what holds us back is the inaction. The reaction, after the fear, typically we have a reaction, and that reaction tends to be inaction. Mm-hmm. So once you can overcome that as normal, once you can redefine what fear means, something amazing is about to happen, obviously typically, then you can step into the life that you want. And a lot of that 2% and that 4%, exactly what you just mentioned, Adam, it's typically, I didn't get to do this. I didn't, date the person I wanted to date. I didn't go for that job. I didn't go for that role. I didn't go for my mission. I didn't learn the language I wanted to learn, so to speak. I didn't become a ballerina or a pianist or different things that are in the back of our mind. And we always say, oh, I'll do it someday. The reason I just mentioned the ballerina is because when I, again, just finished my first degree when I was 20, I was really fascinated by, and I say this in inverted commas, and please bear in mind, I was 20 at the time. I was really fascinated by really, really, really old people. And to me at the time, that meant someone who was like 60. And I had the opportunity to be around a lot of, and again, I'm not, please, in the context of what I'm saying. So I had the opportunity to be around a lot of 60, like older people when I was 20. And I would always ask them, if you could do anything differently, what would it be? And I just remember this one lady where she said, I would have been a ballerina. And I said, why didn't you? And then she just told the whole story that it was always in her mind too. And there were always all these reasons why she couldn't. Maybe she wasn't good enough. She had other people in her life that told her that, oh, you're not a ballerina, you're just and then she said she'd carried it with her like all through her life that, oh, I'll do it at some point after this other significant period of my life has happened. Then I'll do it. Oh, and then I'll do it then. Then I'll do it then. Then I'll do it then. And it was such a piece for her where it was still there that she hadn't have done it. So again, Adam, this is a question for you. If someone is able to step into that lane of flow and leave that lane of fear, what type of life will they have, would you say?
I mean, if they could leave that lane of fear and get into the lane of flow, I mean, they would live an amazing life. I mean, it's such a fulfilling and wonderful life, and we only get this one. I feel like, I mean, the way you say it, it's this powerful certainty that comes from it. And I wonder, I mean, in addition, so what I'm hearing there is that I need to go pursue my dream of becoming a ballerina. That's what I'm hearing. But
that's what you're hearing. Absolutely. Right. And here's the thing about the lane of fear and the lane of flow.
Right.
Now, the lane of fear is more exciting. The lane of flow is more exciting. The lane of fear is just one lane. 0-1, fear, not fear. It's just that one lane. The lane of flow is more exciting because there are multiple lanes. We're not saying, and again, I was hesitant to start talking about, reading thousands of books or 1,000 books, which I have at this point, and all these different things I have done. Now, part of my hesitation was that flow doesn't mean going to find, unless you want it to mean that, going to find who's the best in the world and doing all this stuff. And it means what it means to you, or my definition of flow. So that flow lane, there are different lanes. There's the super, highway. There's the lane in the middle. There's a lane on the end. And the beautiful thing about flow is just be in flow. For the flow that fits your life, your world, the way you want to live your life. Flow might be a part-time thing where you're doing it a part of the time. And you get to have that joy because you're in who you want to be and who you are for part of your week, as it were, for part of your day. Flow might be, actually, I'm moving everything aside and fully going for my mission, and I'm in full flow 100%, 1,000%. Flow might be somewhere in between, but that super highway of flow says you can choose the one that you want, and you can be getting to be, having that excitement, that exciting feeling of fear that comes up all the time. But then there's that fear highway where the other highway where you get to be scared of 92% of things that aren't going to happen anyway. And then you get to step into that, I guess it would be 96% of people who by 65 still have all these unchecked boxes, so to speak, or by 80, they haven't lived the life that they want. And again, I teach that living the life that you want. So it's not someone else's prescription that you must do this or go learn a bunch of languages or learn a bunch of dances, walk on tiptoe, right? That's, I guess, what ballerinas do, right? It just means that the life and the lifestyle that you want, the exact life and the lifestyle that you want, it's up to you. You can curate the life that you wish to create. It's up to you. And then as long as you just as long as you listen to a bunch of episodes of Adam's podcast, step into your flow, and you can pick your lane, it's fine. And then here's the thing. That's not to say there's a phrase that says, stay in your lane. That's not to say that, oh, this is your level. That's to say, this is your level if that's the level that you pick. You know, if you metaphorically want to learn one language more, 4 languages more, 50 languages more, or beyond, the capacity of a human being is unlimited. Your capacity is unlimited. So you just now have to find out or put down what it is you want, exactly what you want, exactly the way you want it. And then things like finding your why, stepping into who you are, stepping into your flow. It's the services of mentors and coaches such as myself and Adam, well, finding other solutions is what I'm trying to say, will certainly get you there. And why? Because there's so much evidence of people doing the possible that perhaps at one stage they thought wasn't as possible as it is.
That's so true. And I love that the way that you're describing that, because I have never heard the idea of flow and fear being presented as a highway and different lanes. But that's such a great metaphor for that, because we always have that capability to move into that lane. And a lot of times it takes that level of embracing courage and moving from one lane to another. And I wonder, when you speak of, you're 20 years old and you're listening to, elderly people at the time of, who were talking about what they wish they had done. Did that help guide your decision later to make the jump in your own life, where you were, in this 6-figure career, working those 16 hours, kind of, bringing the cycle home, to make that leap into, what your true passion was of serving others, and, going off to work with Tony Robbins and going to embrace all of this, hundreds of thousands of dollars of education. Was that kind of the trigger for that, or how did you take that leap?
1,000%. I always remember that lady and just what she was saying about wanting to be that ballerina. And part of the reason I did those surveys, unofficial surveys, as it were, was to discover, I guess, what is the meaning of life and what should we be doing with our life? And, it definitely served as a platform, because do you know how amazing it is? Like, at one point I said to myself, I wonder what it would be like to learn a language. And I had a few people say it's not possible for you, etc. I don't want to go there too much, but it's not possible. You can't, all that great stuff. And I learned a language, and then I learned another one, and I learned another one. If you look at different studies, they say that is it between 4 and 8 is the optimal time to learn a language. And again, I'm speaking about languages, but I'm using this as a metaphor for what your version of languages is that you want for your life. So they say between 4 and 8 is the optimal time. Probably true. As an adult, you can't because of this reason, that reason, and let's make a list of limiting beliefs. Adam, do you know how beautiful it is when I reach into my hallway, right? I'm speaking to both sides of the Atlantic, right?
Yeah.
I reach into the corridor, I go into the hallway. And when I go there, I have 4 doors. The first door is a green door. The next one is a blue door. The next one is a red door. And the next one is a yellow door. And when I enter each one of those doors, the green door is, I don't consider any language to be my first language. I try and live them equally. When I open that green door, that's my English speaking door. And I can interact with different people from all walks of life. And guess why? Because it's more or less my first language. I say more or less, I have a language before that. More or less my first language. And then, or I can open the blue door and, oh my gosh, if you talk about my definition of what makes me happy, what is my equivalent of winning the lotto, whatever, it's just speaking French. That's it. Speaking the French language.
Yeah.
I can open the blue door and speak Quebecois or regular French or French with slang if I'm speaking to someone who's cool, right? Or business French. Or I can go to the red door and speak in Espanol with a Hispanohablante, and then we can start having that conversation about Spanish from Spain or Spanish from I think it's the 27 countries, correct me if I'm wrong, Spanish speakers listening to this, that speak all different types of Spanish. And then they say, oh, I'm going to speak a little bit slower for you. And then I say to them, there's no need, because we listen way faster than anyone could ever speak. So you can speak as fast as you want. And then guess what? I get to go to the yellow door and then speak in Portuguese, and not just in Portuguese, in Brazilian Portuguese. Do you know how amazing that is? And it's not like a miracle. It is from a lot of preparation and showing up, and there's a whole big story behind that. But the point I'm trying to make is on the other side, so you've got fear. Do you remember that, highway? It's kind of a slip road at this point, but then you've got that highway where you step into flow. And then the flow, it opens up all these different worlds for you. For me, it's that corridor. Like I literally, there are 7 days in the week. I have one official day where I speak English, and it's not today, by the way, but I have one official day where I speak English. That's it.
Wow.
So let's say, Adam, you send me a note or a text or something. Any notes I write to myself are in English if it's a Monday, right? On a Tuesday, it's French is my language I speak, or if I write anything, it's in French. Wednesday, Spanish, where this is going. Thursday, Portuguese. And then it's not till Friday again, French, Saturday, Spanish, Sunday, Portuguese. And my mindset is that none of these are my native tongue. They're all my native tongue, right? And again, if there's that, it could be as simple as you want to play the guitar or something, or you have a purpose and your tribe that you want to serve on your level, or there's something that you know for a fact that you've got it in you to do, and there's imposter syndrome, or I'm just a fill in the blank, right? That says you can't, or all these other reasons that you can't. This is what lays on the other side of the flow superhighway, the ability to step into your version of your whole way and live in flow, and then because you've stacked living in flow, the next time someone says, by the way, Joe Public or Jane Public, by the way, it's better. This isn't for you. You know better because you have evidence of stepping through the fear. Imagine the fear of going to speak a whole nother language. You've got into flow, and again, this is a metaphor for what you want, like getting into what it is that you want. You have previous. I already achieved that. I already moved to that place that I wanted to move to. I already achieved that great, love life, or I guess relationship that I wanted. I achieved that level of income that I wanted. I achieved, instead of working 60, 70, 80 hours a week, successful, I achieved, or really stressful, I achieved 20 hours a week, and I get to holiday 4 times a year if I want to. I get to, travel, or whatever it is that's the life and the lifestyle that you want is what lives way on the other side of the beautiful game that is fear that shows up all the time.
I love that. That is so good. You are a master of metaphors, of putting the audience in a room, in a scenario where they can imagine this, and just that is so inspiring to hear with regard to the corridors. And that last way you put it, just this beautiful game of fear. I always love to look at fear as a gift, and it really is. I think you've demonstrated that today. There's a number of different corridors or hallways that we can go down today, but I know that we're, right at the hour here, and I would love to know how people can find you if they want to connect with you, if they want to work with you as a coach, or if they want to learn your secrets and all of that. How can they get in touch with you?
Absolutely. Just before I tell that, Adam, there's in French. My apologies. I had to put something in here French this session. In French, right? They say there's a phrase for bon anniversaire or joyeux anniversaire, which is, happy birthday, right?
Right.
But then they some also celebrate non-anniversaire. So that way you get to celebrate every day, because one day is your birthday, the rest of the days aren't your birthday. And just piggybacking off what you said about the gift of fear, imagine you have that one day a year, unless you're a member of the royal family, you have like 2 days or something, I don't know. You have that day a year when it's your birthday, everyone's loving on you, it's your day, and you have other days like Christmas and whichever holiday you celebrate, which is similar. But then, and then you get all these gifts. But then you also get the non-anniversaire, the not your birthdays, which we can switch out to the days when fear shows up. That beautiful gift of, I have to step out on stage, so to speak, or I have to go and, that's the number one fear of the human being, right? Speaking in public, or I have to perform in some way, or I have to go for my goal finally. And then that fear shows up. It's your non-anniversaire. It's that gift that's not on your birthday that gets to happen every single day, multiple times. What a beautiful gift. What an aliveness that you're having if you're experiencing fear. Because if you're experiencing fear and you're ready to step into it, the next thing that's going to happen, and if you don't believe me, ask Adam Hill, the next thing that's going to happen is that flow happens next. If you, I teach that, you can create the life and the lifestyle that you'd want to create. You can curate the life and lifestyle that you want to create. It's up to you. And the way that I teach it is two ways. One is by the impact that you can have, and the second is by fulfillment. A lot of times, finances hold people back from the life and the lifestyle that they want. So the way that we teach impact is adding value out there in this world. And the more value that you add, and do it at the level of being an expert, and specifically adding value via having your own online business. And you can do that via one of two ways. Well, there are lots of ways, but two ways that we teach are, one is that perhaps you love your 9 to 5, so to speak, but you want some more financial options. You can give yourself the option to have that side hustle of an online business that brings in that extra 6 figures for your family. Or you can go all in. Perhaps you have your tribe that you want to serve, your bigger mission and vision that you have for the people that you want to serve. Go all in with your online business. Aim for that, mid 6 figures or beyond 7 figures, whichever one. So that's what we teach in terms of impact. So we teach you all the steps. I've been in, the online business game for well over 12 years. We teach you that. The other part is this, because once you have, a success, the fulfillment part is huge. It's definitely needed. And oftentimes people discover that when they get to the end of the success, like, woohoo, I'm so successful, but everything around me is, just not in the way that it should be. So we teach fulfillment via personal development, coaching. So I do have a strategy session. Just go to mosalami.com/free call. And if you forget, just remember this, mosalami.com/free call. And so just go there, schedule a free call. We'll do a strategy session. You'll get a ton of value on the actual session itself. And then you'll also get to know whether we're a good fit to work together. So that's at mosalami.com/free call. If you're wanting to know more about me in general, go to mosalami.com/blog. And there are a bunch of different bits and bobs on there that tell you a little bit more about what I do. So that's what it is, I would say.
Thank you so much for sharing all of that, because you, Mo, are truly a guy that not only has all of this knowledge, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of training and education, working with the best in the world like Tony Robbins, and not only that, generating value for millions of dollars of value for Tony Robbins, and tens of thousands of hours of experience working with people and businesses to create millions of dollars of revenue. You also talk the talk. You've done this in your own life. You've put these practices to work, and that's where you can get the most powerful mentorship and coaching. And it's been such a thrill to have you on this show and for you to share some of that knowledge with us today. And we've only scratched the surface. And I really hope that people who are listening, who could use this kind of help in their own lives or in their own business, or they're feeling that overwhelm, or they want to turn that fear into flow in their own lives, and they want that impact and fulfillment, which are the two greatest things that we can have in the world. Reach out to Mo. That's mosalami.com/free call again. And you can learn more about him on his blog. Thank you so much, Mo, for joining us today. I'm so grateful for spending this time with you. I learned a lot, and I know our audience did too. Thank you so much for being here.
Adam, thank you so much for the invitation. And I just want to say about yourself as well that I know that when I'm listening to the Flow Over Fear podcast, there's always like a minimum level of greatness in every single episode. Really enjoyed. And as you know, I've mentioned to you a few times, listened to lots of episodes. Keep doing what you're doing. And you're such a great testament to showing up, so keep doing the great things you're doing. And thank you for what you do, for sure.
Thank you, Mo. And I really appreciate the kind words. And to everyone out there, I appreciate you being here. Please share this episode, subscribe and rate it. And share it with your friends because they can get a lot from this as well. Thanks again, Mo. And to everyone else out there, we'll see you next time. Hey, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to the Flow Over Fear podcast. If you'd like to learn more about getting into flow and learn the foundations of flow, I have a free video series on my website at www.adamcliffordhill.com called The Foundations of Flow. Feel free to go there and download it and start your journey to rising above fear and achieving greater flow in your life. And if you like this episode, and I'm guessing you did if you stuck around for this long, then please do me a favor and hit the subscribe button, and you will receive notifications when I have new interviews, new recaps, and new trainings that pop up on YouTube. Thanks again for joining us.